little bit of an interesting time, especially when we talk about operations that have to do with mining. So first, about your mining strategy in Bit Digital, and to what extent are you focusing on both not only profitability but also efficiency?
Absolutely. So in terms of our strategy with respect to Bitcoin mining, we have our Bitcoin mining fleet across 3 different countries, the United States, Canada, and Iceland. It's very important for us to have jurisdictional diversification. It helps hedge out the risk whenever something political happens and there's a lot of regulatory uncertainty around Bitcoin. And so it's very important for us to hedge against that. So that's been our strategy. With respect to the source of power, we are, I think, over 85% carbon-free, which is very different from carbon neutrality. Carbon neutrality is you create the damage and then you buy these certificates that offsets the damage. So we don't do that. We don't create the damage in the first place. We use hydro, we use geothermal, we use various renewable sources of power in order to make sure that our fleet is mostly carbon-free in order to not create any damage and at the same time to not be a target for any particular politician.
Well, that always helps from that perspective, Sam. Sam, I want to ask you about the entry into AI. We're seeing a lot of the Bitcoin miners gradually enter the broader AI space. Maybe can you share with our audience how is entering the AI space and what are some of the particularities for a Bitcoin miner when they enter the AI ecosystem?
There has indeed been a trend for Bitcoin miners to go into the AI space. The AI space, there's a huge explosion, as you know, in AI applications. And as a result, there is an increased demand for high-performance computing in order to serve these AI applications. Bitcoin miners are experts in high-performance compute. They were using that skill set to produce Bitcoin, but now they have an opportunity to leverage that same skill set to serve a very fast-growing market in the AI applications. So that's something that we've done. I believe we're one of the first to actually do that. We have a very lucrative business in the HPC space. We started as Bitcoin miners, and we were one of the first to get involved in the HPC AI space, and we secured very long-term contracts. And that's good for us because Bitcoin itself is a very volatile asset, as we all know. And it's very difficult to know how much money you're going to make tomorrow, next month, or next year in Bitcoin. So Bitcoin miners never had that visibility. But with AI, you have these very long-term contracts, and you know exactly by the penny how much money you're going to make for many years. And the margins are very lucrative. In fact, Bitcoin would have to more than double where it is today to even approach the HPC margins in AI that we have. So it's been very lucrative for us, but there are some obstacles for Bitcoin miners to get into the HPC space. I'm happy to get into it if you wish.
We'll get back to this point, but before that, when you look at the regulations for Bitcoin miners across the globe, we have countries and governments where they put tight regulations around crypto miners. For other countries, it's not the same. So to what extent is regulation a factor that impacts your profitability and your efficiency as well?
Regulation is extremely important. Bit Digital was once upon a time, many years ago, in China. And we had our entire fleet there. And we thought maybe that was a jurisdictional risk. Maybe it's possible that one day China will ban Bitcoin mining. And people thought we were being very paranoid. But the paranoid survive. We migrated our entire fleet from China into the United States and Canada. We did that during COVID, which was a very difficult time to migrate tens and tens of thousands of machines into North America. We were able to do that. People thought we were crazy. And it turns out, while we were migrating our entire fleet, China banned Bitcoin mining. Thank God we did that. So regulation and jurisdiction is extremely important for us. It's in the DNA of Bit Digital. In fact, if we had not done that, if we were not paranoid, we would have been dead by now.
But when it comes to jurisdiction, you know, what's very interesting when I look at Bitcoin mining, you're obviously competing with other Bitcoin miners. Recently on the show, we covered the case of El Salvador, where the country is getting into Bitcoin mining. To what extent do you think this could change the dynamic of Bitcoin mining when companies like yourselves, privately owned company, public listed, but private companies may compete against sovereign countries when it comes to mining Bitcoin?
I think it's a huge problem for Bitcoin miners. I don't think Bitcoin miners completely appreciate how much of a problem it is if sovereign nation states get involved in Bitcoin mining. I'll explain why. The access, particularly in the Middle East, countries have access to extremely cheap power. In fact, it's free when sovereigns do it. And so how do you compete with free? Bitcoin miners today are competing with each other depending on the price and the cost of production of Bitcoin, which is mostly about the cost of energy. But if countries get involved, countries have endless source of cheap, if not free power. Publicly listed Bitcoin miners cannot compete against that. And if Bitcoin goes up to, say, 200,000, you're going to see governments getting involved in Bitcoin mining because they have free access to power. And they're not going to just see an asset that's $200,000
and not be part of its
That's
room
correct.
for returns,
That's
for
correct.
these high returns, especially for an emerging country.
Correct.
So, Sam, as we finish it off, I have to ask you quickly about the U.S. elections coming up. Whether Democrats win or Republicans, what do you think the impact will be on Bitcoin miners in 30 seconds?
Well, I mean, whether you like him or not, Donald Trump is good for crypto. I mean, he's actually the first ones to use Ethereum to raise money for raising funds when he created those NFTs that actually ended up doing very well. Donald Trump is pro-crypto. And whether you like him or not, if you are in the crypto space, and 40 million Americans today, over 40 million, are in crypto, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and so on. And those voters are highly motivated voters, and they are probably going to be voting for Donald Trump because they wish to see the crypto ecosystem flourish.
Very topical one today, yeah? We're talking about elections on that side.
And whenever we talk about why this U.S. election this year is different than any other, crypto is one side of it. Thank you so much, Sam, for being with us. Sam Tabar, CEO of BitDigital. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Sam.